All right, folks. If you don't skip over these ads, which I hope you don't because they are being paid for by people who are part of the Unspoiled community, so they're more meaningful than some of the other ads that are automatically put onto my feed. These like reminders that the tax season for next year is coming up have been more and more insistent. But now, for reals, we're halfway through November. It's time. If you intend to face 2023 without panicking or late nights or just a general sense of anxiety hanging over your head, now is the time to go talk to Molly Morris. Please listen to me on this, guys. It's m3virtualaccounting.com. She will do a free consultation with you to find out what it is you need, whether she's a good fit for you, and she is flexible in the way that she charges based on what you're looking for and what you're doing. She is wonderful. So please, 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 if you have been sort of putting it off all year, but every time you hear me talk about it, you're like, oh yeah, I have to remember to do that. No, now you just have to do it. m3virtualaccounting.com.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Ted Lasso Season 2, Episode 6, The Signal. In this episode, The Signal is giving Jamie Tart the finger. And honestly, I just feel like it works on just such a variety of levels. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. And also, oh my God, I found out who Rebecca's texting. Oh my God. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
You guys, last night I watched this with Owen, and I really thought it was Ted. I thought the show was telling us it was Ted.
Sure,
and I guess
like
it was
way.
like a red herring.
Mm-hmm.
It was an American herring. But it turns out it's our lovely, sweet, social situation conscious Sam.
That was a mouthful.
I don't know how to say that better, but you know what I'm saying. He's a woke boy. And I had said something, I think, about how she should just go for it because he was very complimentary to her at one point. And I was like, look, I understand the power dynamic is fucked up and she should not do this, but also she maybe should do this. But I wasn't meaning it. And now I'm like, oh, well, maybe this is a real thing after all. So, but in the meantime, Rebecca is just nailing hot men for fun. And I can't get mad at that either. I'm kind of I want you to meet him and figure it out, but I also would like for you to just enjoy these extremely dumb but very sexy men.
I mean,
just for a little longer.
Why not both?
Right, true. I don't know how Sam would feel about that. I feel like he would probably be very traditional about how he wants his relationship to be, but maybe not. What do I know?
Yeah, when this episode aired, we all went completely, nuts. Especially in the last episode, because the misdirect from the episode is it's done in such a way that they really want you to think it's Ted and Rebecca with the timing and everything.
100%.
And I remember when I watched it, because I think I meant to go look through my Facebook memories to see if I could find it, because I know I said something about this, but I couldn't remember if it was on my personal page or if it was in the Ted Lasso group that I was participating in.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I asked you at the end of the last episode, how do you think Roy got into the stadium?
Right.
Because there was all this talk about who she was texting, right? And people were like, it's got to be Ted. And me and another person were like, what if that was Roy asking Ted, what do I need to say to get in? And that is what Ted was looking at, and that's what made him smile.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice. Yes.
But yeah, the show did a really fun, sort of very sitcom-y kind of redirect. And that's one of the things I think I've mentioned it before. Underneath everything that I love about Ted Lasso, the thing that really hits for me is that I am a big, long-time appreciator of sitcoms. They don't get a lot of credit. A lot of times they're really corny and whatever, but there are some sort of just like understood basic sort of rules and ways you play in sitcoms, Right. And Bill Lawrence is someone who has a great appreciation for like classic sitcoms, and he makes a lot of like references to them in all his shows and Scrubs and Spin City, Cougar Town. He's a man that appreciates the pacing, the conventions, the everything that goes into making like quality like sitcoms and the certain touchstones that go throughout all of those. And this was one of those really kind of fun, sort of like, like it's something you would see. I don't want to say, I guess Friends.
Three's Company.
Frasier.
That's always what I think of when we're about to do a farcical.
You know what I mean? It's just something that's just very like in line with that. And so, but then when we find out it was Sam, everybody just completely lost their mind in the Ted Lasso universe as it was happening. And it brought up a lot of really interesting discussions about power dynamics as well. And like her being the boss and being older, but
and being white, a rich white woman. I feel like his family is not going to be like, psyched about that. But
all right. But at this point, they don't know yet, but the audience is like clued in, so we haven't seen yet what's going to happen when they realize who they've been talking to. Which I can't wait to ask you how you think.
I have no idea. Oh my God, I genuinely don't. I really I've thought about it a million times, and I can't help but wonder is it going to be the situation where they're like, you wear a red carnation to the bar, and Rebecca walks up and sees him sitting there with the red carnation, is like, fuck, and just bounces.
She just turns around and walks right back out.
Exactly. Because I feel like when you're really not ready for somebody to be who they are, just kind of ghosting them is something that I could understand. I wouldn't approve, but I would get it,
Right. If you had to put money on it and say they meet each other and they realize, oh, we've been talking to each other, which one of them is like, fuck it, let's try, and which one is like, we can't do this?
I feel like I don't know. Sam is so like socially conscious, and I feel like his family's approval, and I may be misreading it, but I feel like it means something to him. And her being rich the way that she is, and British the way that she is, I feel like is gonna feel weird for him. And so I don't know if that would change anything for him. And I feel like she was so the laugh when Keely asked if she had ever dated a footballer was so instantaneous and pronounced that she would be really conscious of like her reputation and what it would look like for a mature woman who owns a league to be dating a hot young footballer and it be like a thing. And I really don't know, because on the one hand, I feel like to a degree, maybe she would embrace it a little bit as like, I hate to say as revenge for Rupert, because I don't want to
play it like that. Like, Sam
Everything's
deserves better than that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But
also, I like to think at this point, everything's not about Rupert anymore.
yeah, that too. But also, I would like to think that if she actually went through with like a date and then called Keely, that Keely would be like, "Oh, you got to do it," and like, talk her into it, you know. And I don't know, she is like trying to be conscious of things, and she fucking kept Sam on the team when she was told to fire him. And I don't know if he doesn't know that, I'm assuming. I'm sure she didn't like tell him that he was on the line there for a minute. But it's not like she isn't attempting to do some good with what she has.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that would be a really good way to raise the profile of what Sam is like trying to bring people's attention to various issues and stuff. Having her at his side might be great for that, you know? And again, I don't want to say that he would be like dating her for the social issue thing. I don't think that is it at all. But I'm just trying to see like ways around what I would imagine might be some like obstacles, you know?
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like in the end, the one that would be the most down to do it would be Sam. I think I'm going to say he would be, and she would be really aware of like the optics and feel real weird about it.
Okay.
But I am not like confident. That's me going at like 40%. So.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, kids.
You heard it here first. Natasha can't decide. She's a Libra. That's new. All right. So starting from the top, as we don't do ever, let's do this part. We're finding out about the significance of the game that they are about to play. And there is a pundit thing where they're watching the game. I don't even remember what team they're up against at this point. But we see Jamie pass to Danny Rojas and then him take the shot. Goal. They're like doing pretty well here. Everybody's talking about how the team is just like, gears that have been oiled and shined up, and they don't even know where this team came from.
Calling it the Roy Kent effect. Since Roy has joined the coaching team, the team has gone like 4-0. And everybody's pretty much giving Roy like all the credit, or a lot of the credit.
This sucks. I really hate this for Nathan. I really do. And like, that is not to say that I think Nathan's actually responsible and Roy's getting credit where he doesn't deserve it. But it's more like Roy was a hugely respected, extremely talented member of the team. And of course, they're going to listen to him in a way that they wouldn't listen to Nathan. And that isn't even about them being shitty to Nathan. It's just, you can trust somebody who has played with you and knows the team and is like aware of the ins and outs of who they're going up against. Nathan knows all of that stuff as well, but he doesn't speak up. So it's just the way that this is going as of right now makes total sense. And I'm not really like mad at anybody because I don't feel like Roy is trying to elbow Nate out of the way. I don't get that sense. It just seems like he is going to say what he's going to say. And if Nate doesn't speak up, he's not going to step back and make room. He expects Nate to say something as well if he's going to. And if he doesn't say it, then he didn't need to say anything. And now we're moving on.
Right. Also, it's the attention, a lot of the attention on Roy, at least from the front end of this episode, we see is coming from the media. It's external, it's pundits calling it the Roy Kent effect and attributing this turnaround, this 180 to Roy's presence, which makes sense because Roy was a legit superstar. Like nobody knows who Nate is. Nate is literally nobody, even less than Ted and Beard.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that all this attention would be heaped on Roy. And I don't think that the team is responding to Roy, like you said. It makes sense because they respect him as a player, which is something that, you know, they're not going to have for Nate. And that's why at the end of this episode, when Nate makes the park the bus call, and he really has to have a moment of being really assertive to the point of telling both Beard and Roy to, you know, just basically be quiet for a fucking second. I got this, you know? And he has this great moment of taking charge and being aggressive and calling this play, and then it being successful.
I was so worried this was going to fucking not work. I was so worried, y'all. I really, because, you know, this show doesn't like to give like an easy win, and I respect that, but the moment.
And it's such a difference between a little bit earlier when they get the goal and he goes to hug
oh my God.
And Ted just like smushes him aside to go and get it. Yeah.
Nate.
Yeah.
Bruh. And you know what? Also, like, Ted. How are you, like, so aware so much of the time and you are not seeing this in front of your face, bruh? Like, I almost wonder, like, does he see it? And he's just like, figure it out, man. I can't keep holding your hand. I would like to think this is Ted consciously putting me in a position of like, you better get it together because I can't always be making space for you. You have gotten the job. Now do the job. But I have seen Ted be pretty fast and loose with other people's feelings about stuff in a way that's sort of surprising. And I can't say I'm super confident that's what's actually happening here. And I just, again, also understand Roy is so, it's weird to call him charismatic because like it feels like the wrong word, but he still is. And he was somebody that when Ted came in, he was so disapproving that to have Ted's, like for Ted to now feel like he's a member of the same team as Ted is in a different way, I can understand Ted just being like very excited personally about that. Whereas with Nate, it might feel a little bit more like he's a kid that's got talent and I gave him a chance, which doesn't have the same level of sort of respect to it. It feels a little bit more patronizing, even if it's not meant to be, you know? But I just really, again, I want to emphasize, I understand the way that everybody is playing things, but I want them all to take a step back for a second and really look at the way some shit has gone down and just consider for a second, you know? And I don't know. What worries me is that I feel like we have seen Nate kind of freak out a couple times, and I am worried that he is going to freak out in a way that is going to be like really public, not necessarily public, like, you know, the pundits on TV public, but maybe in front of the team public that might damage his credibility somehow, or just say something that you kind of can't take back. And it won't be like justified exactly, but because everybody has seemed so unaware of what he's going through,
they're all going to feel like they're going to be shocked. Where'd this come from? Because
exactly,
I love. There's a when Ted has his panic attack towards the end of the game and leaves the field, and everybody's wondering where he's going. Nate says he can't just abandon the team or abandon the game. And I just think that the choice of language there is very, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
But
so they're talking about the game. Pundits. And then we go to Rebecca's place, where there is this incredibly jacked, buck-ass, naked young man.
Hunky Luca.
Hunky Luca.
Which, anytime I hear a hunky, what is it?
Tony. Hey. Yeah, and I agree. I think that it was Money who said in like a text chat, or maybe it was one of these chats one time, that him saying he's a male bimbo, he's a mimbo. What a missed opportunity for himbo. Truly. Everybody knows it's himbo nowadays. We got it. But yeah, that really was right there, Jerry. What are you doing? But it's fine, I guess. But yeah, he is. I really enjoyed this energy, even though it's like a little bit fucked up. But he is making tea for her and asking how she wants it from the kitchen while she texts somebody else from the bedroom.
It's fair. It's fantastic.
With this massive smile on her face.
I love it. She's like, wait a minute. Are you naked in my kitchen? Because it's just like, you can't really explain it, but sometimes you just can tell when somebody doesn't have clothes on. It's like a weird thing, right? You're just like, wait a minute, I saw you leave the bedroom and then like you didn't have no clothes on when you left the bedroom, and I thought you were just going to the bathroom, and now you're making tea. Hold up.
It's a towel. Don't worry about it. Maybe he's got an apron on. Nothing else, but the front's covered, you know. I would like that, actually, if you had a little apron on.
That's a good look.
Yeah.
Ass out, cheeks out.
So yeah, and the little convo she's getting, and I'm looking at the LDN 152. I don't know what his like jersey number is. Is it 15?
No, we talked about this an episode or two ago. This is the take on the fucking the goddamn You've Got Mail or whatever.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about this. Right. Okay, yeah. And he says a coworker, I love the way that he's wording all of this. A coworker made fun of me for believing in guardian angels. Then he tripped and fell. Coincidence? And she says, I believe in guardian angels. Disrespect them at your peril.
My favorite of this whole exchange, I happen to have it paused right where the screenshot is.
Okay.
The very top of the conversation, it just says, you can't see the whole conversation, but it says Bigfoot with a question mark. Because I guess they're just talking about various things you believe in or not. And I desperately want to scroll up because I want to hear more about this Bigfoot conversation.
I thought that it was about her because she is sitting there talking to him, and then she lifts her foot and like holds it out and looks at it very critically while sort of rolling her ankle. And I was like, is she just talking about that she has big feet? Because she's extremely tall. So, you know, it would make sense if she had like a large shoe size. I'm a size fucking 10. So yeah, same girl. Same. So yeah, she's like, are you naked? Because my cleaner's coming. And then he turns around and her mother is standing right there in this like leopard fur coat and this hair. And he is utterly unembarrassed. It is really wild.
He just offers her some tea.
He grins at her like, you're welcome. I hope you're having a nice day now. Like, it's a real shit-eating kind of, yeah, I know. I look good.
And Rebecca had just told him, like, put some clothes on because Mina, the cleaner's coming. So when Rebecca's mom shows up, he just assumes that she's the cleaner.
Which, sir... Look at this lady. Look at the coat she's wearing. Do you think this is what the cleaner wears when she comes over to the house? Do you think so?
And I guess this is all telling us that he is just, there's not a lot going on upstairs. But it doesn't need to be because there's plenty going on downstairs.
Oh, so. I hope so. There better be.
So,
man, there are some men out there that really think being good looking is all it takes. Or that just having a big dick is all it takes.
I'm assuming this is because this is from the Tumescent site that she was sharing with Keely when she shows the picture. And she's like, where's the rest of it? So this has got to be him, right?
Right. So. Okay. God.
So, yeah. He doesn't have to be very smart if he doesn't want to be.
So Rebecca walks in, realizes that it's her mom, and her mom greets her with, "Hello, darling, I've left your father." And she says it in this way that Rebecca like looks shocked in the moment, but we find out later that this is just a thing she fucking does.
Yeah.
And I love her saying, "He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't respect me." And Esther Perel says, "It takes two people to create a pattern, but only one to change it."
Her mother
I am that change.
Her mother is, you get, I feel like, everything you need to know about this woman in that very first exchange. I feel like it just tells you just who she is. And
is
then,
Esther Perel like a self-help person of some kind?
I don't know. I know Brene Brown that she mentions later, but Esther Perel, I don't know. But I'm assuming it's probably somebody in the same vein, sort of own your power. And
Erica says she is. Okay.
You know, so.
Own your power. Rashawn flapped her hands around
like
an indication of like, yeah, whatever.
That's where it's got
jerk off motion.
It really has. I mean, I'm not saying that that's just not. I mean, it's real and whatever. I'm just not in the mood for it right now.
It's real and whatever.
I just don't have any. I just don't have anything for that right now.
I feel it. So yeah, then the cleaner comes in. We hear a smack as she like drops a broom, I think.
Yeah.
And then it says, "Let's start in the study." It's a mop. And I like when she like looks down at his crotch and then looks up. It's a very like, I know what got her attention first. All right,
I also loved
sense.
it. Eventually, in the middle of all this, Rebecca has to say again, like, put some clothes on.
He does not give a shit. And I love that for him.
Yeah, he knows.
Honestly,
he is. This is a man who knows that the best thing about him is when his pants are off. So he is just like, yeah, this is, I don't mind.
Oh man. So then we cut to Ted. And he is coming into work and greeting everybody by name with very individualized little greetings. It says, "We meet Liam, laughing Liam."
We meet laughing Liam.
I love it because he says, "Whatever gift you end up getting your mom for her birthday, let her know it came from both of us, huh?" And Liam starts laughing, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I was like, took me a second.
I'm so glad you caught it. I wasn't sure if you would remember it or not because it was such a nothing line from the first season, but
that laugh is like a sea lion bark. It's too distinctive. I had to like, there was a reason that they would put that crazy laugh right there,
But yeah, so Ted is coming in and he's just as, feeling very, very good. Like he's having a good day. Like you said, he's stopping and chatting with literally everybody. The fucking woman in the parking lot. And he's like, way to keep the ice bucket challenge alive.
What was that about? Was she doing something? Or is that like from probably like social media? He's referencing something that she posted? Or
yeah, he says, I saw your Instagram. Way to keep the ice bucket challenge alive.
Gotcha.
And it's just, I guess it's just funny because that was like 2013 or 14 or something.
It is so wild to realize how online trends. I don't think of myself as somebody who's on top of online trends, and I'm not really, like, not in a real way, but I am enough that when someone isn't, I'm just like, what planet do you live on that's still anything anyone talks about?
It's so weird. Austin Arminio shared, I guess it's a couple months ago now, time has lost all meaning. But that fucking ice bucket challenge raised so much fucking money and funded so much research. They actually had like
super successful.
A couple of breakthroughs, like significant breakthroughs in treatment from that shit. And I read that article and then I felt like so much shame because I talked so much shit about that challenge. It seemed like the dumbest fucking thing. And I didn't understand how money was attached to it. All I know,
I didn't either.
People were just dumping buckets of ice on it and then posting videos. I didn't understand how, and I still don't understand how money was actually raised, but somehow it was.
This is the same thing as like No Shave November is like a meant to raise awareness about, was it prostate cancer or something?
I think so. Yeah, some sort of men's health thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that until like last week. Straight up had never heard that.
And I still don't know how it raises money. I know people people put pictures up in November of beards, but like, are you donating for every day you don't shave? Like, I don't know. I don't know all the
I think a lot of people aren't aware because a lot of dudes don't know about that kind of, like Owen has done No Shave November. He's grown his beard out. He's letting the hair on his head grow because he'd been shaving it down. But he's not doing anything for it, you know? And I don't think if I asked him, do you know what No Shave November is actually about? I'm not sure he would know. So it's not just us.
Yeah, okay. That makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
I also love Colin's mantra. She told, I'm a worthy and capable man. I am not a
piece of shit.
She's like, you don't need that second part. And I was like, some of us do, though. Right? Some of us need to say the second part.
Let us go at our own pace, okay, doctor? Because sometimes we just need baby steps, and that's okay. When she says it too, she like points at him. It's like an abrupt, like, "Hey, what was that?" She gets a little startled.
It almost feels like maybe they had talked about that already. He had forgotten that quickly that he didn't need that second part.
I believe that. So then Ted comes in, "Hey, Doc, getting any trouble last night?" And she says, "Nothing I care to speak about at work. You are more mysterious than a David Blaine reading a Sue Grafton novel at Area 51.
It's so unnecessarily layered."
Good God, sir. Calm it down.
He really is on like 100 this morning.
Is he planning these? Like, does he sit waiting for the tube and just think about what he's going to say to people? I don't know. But anyway, she says, make an appointment when you need to talk, as if like him just stopping and saying anything to her in the hall is like, don't waste my time. And a part of me was like, chill, it's just morning banter, it's fine. But on the other hand, his track record is such that I can't get mad at her for this. And he says, just let me follow you around for 10 minutes. After 5, you'll want me to hush my butt. Which I don't know why, but hush my butt is hilarious.
Is it?
I find that so funny. I don't know why, but like, I've been listening to a couple podcasts because I desperately needed something while I'm feeding puppies and up at night. And they are like podcasts where people don't swear. So they say these things like heavens to Betsy or for the love of Pete, things like this, that I'm like, man, that's kind of fun. I kind of want to, you know. And so this moment where he's like, you want me to hush my butt, where I would have been like, you'd wish I'd shut the fuck up. And there's a lot of me that's like, no, that second one is much more appropriate. You wish I'd shut the fuck up. But also hush my butt has a certain charm, a certain like,
it feels like
quality of like an adult would say to a kid.
I was going to say it feels very much like something an elementary school teacher says, because they have to train themselves not to curse all day long in front of their children. So it's something that,
even butt is sort of like towing the line.
That's when you know they're really serious about it. And they throw that butt out there.
So then Ted comes across Roy and Keeley in the hall, and he tells him, I'm shipping the heck out of you two. Roy says, I'm calling HR.
My God.
And then
I
he says,
fucking completely lost my shit.
please tell us, because I don't know what the fuck he's talking about here.
Oh, that's right, because you were not somebody born in the early to mid 70s.
Correct.
H&R Puffin stuff. There was Sid and Marty Krofft. There was a series of children's, supposedly children's, like, children's shows, like kind of like puppet shows. And
like a Mr. Rogers-y type thing.
Kind of like more like weird Muppet Sesame Street, but
Okay.
like super super high. Like if you were really stoned and then you did like a Sesame Street,
Which is probably exactly what was happening. Mm-hmm.
I would definitely recommend like checking it out on YouTube if it pops into your head. So that's what H&R Puffin stuff is.
So why did he mention it here?
Because Roy says, I'm going to call HR.
Right.
And so then Ted...
HR Puffin. Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. Okay, Ted. That's it. I'm officially giving you a yellow card for that one, sir. So then he walks into the office and we've got, is it Nate talking to Beard? And then they just changed the shape of the tortellini. What I love about this is that my dumbass is like, they did. When? Why would they do that? What did it used to be like? Who changed it? What are you talking about? I am interested. This line is meant to be. Can you believe this boring ass man is talking about this boring ass thing to somebody who clearly doesn't care? But for me, the effect was instantaneous. They changed the shape of tortellini. I'm looking into that. I didn't look into that, but I will because I want to know. So I'm just saying, me and Nate would probably be able to be friends in some ways. So Ted is talking about how hype he is, and we're gonna do it. How, like, what's the likelihood that somebody who isn't even in the top rankings would ever win? And apparently that has happened like 7 times.
He says 8
not
times
in the last 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's this
which
weird
Higgins
sort of...
is chiming in from the other side of the window.
I love that too. So Beard is kind of, looking a little knackered, and we find out there's been a development with him and Jane. Jane is a character that we met, at the beginning of the show, and we've seen her a couple times, but we've heard about her more than we've actually gotten to know her.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts about Jane, and do you have any feelings on this relationship from what we have seen so far of this?
This is the kind of thing where it's a real, like... So the through line for this episode that, is circled around mostly Beard and also a little bit around Rebecca's mother, is when people are in shitty relationships or toxic relationships, or they're making bad choices, should you say anything to them about it as a friend or not? And both Ted and Rebecca are pretty firmly in the no camp, that it will just get them mad at you. They will not take your advice. They won't listen to you. And it will cause them to ice you out for a little while. So it's basically accomplishing nothing except to make your life miserable for a little while until they finally decide to, like, let it go and forget about it. And Higgins, meanwhile, is very much like, no, say something. It's fucked up that you're not saying anything, actually. And I think it really depends on the nature of the on again, off again relationship itself and how much it's fucking up somebody's life. There is a quality to Beard and, what is her name? Rebecca? No, that's
Jane.
our boss. Jane, thank you. That feels like the two of them just sort of enjoy this drama. They like it. There's a sense of it being almost a game, And so even though I think in general, Higgins is right about that it's not good for either of them, I think a part of them both knows that, and they just are enjoying it anyway. Because there is something to relationship drama that can kind of make you feel young, you know, and like keep you awake in a way that it's easy when you're in a relationship that's like healthy and steady. You can sort of start to take that for granted, or it won't be exciting.
Some people will think that that's boring.
Exactly.
I mean, Beard seems to have really appreciated that Higgins finally, you know, ends up saying something. It's so funny. He gives him that hug, and Higgins is just like, doesn't know what to do. It's like standing there being
We're
hugged.
British. We don't do this.
And then Beard just kind of, we're never going to mention this again. But, and Rebecca witnessing that, and then it seems like she decides she's going to go and try to have the same conversation with her mom. But then she gets there, and of course her mom is already gone.
And like, he's grateful to Higgins, but immediately like goes and meets with Jane.
Oh yeah,
and they go out, and it's fine. Like, it doesn't
change
anything.
Yeah, it doesn't change. It doesn't make Beard change what he's doing, you know. But he hears Higgins and appreciates that Higgins cares for his well-being enough to say something.
And I think that's it. Like, if you have a friend, like, you know, I had this with a friend of mine who was my maid of honor, my first wedding. And she was dating this guy that she had been dating since high school, who was like, he never actually cheated on her, I don't think, but he was like such a fuck boy that he may as well have at that point, because he had just made it so clear that he could, and that he kind of wanted to, and that he would not, because he was a good man, but he thought about it. And yeah, this girl that he worked with was really hot, and she wanted to, but he wouldn't, but he could because she was there. That kind of like vibe of just constantly keeping my friend feeling insecure and vaguely jealous. And it was just doing a number on her self-esteem. And she had gotten cancer, and he was like by her side throughout all of it. And she felt like she owed him, because he had stayed with her through the cancer, and it was so hard. And she felt like she shouldn't dump him now that she was in the clear, and things were like, she felt guilty about it. And I am somebody that you guys know, I'm just going to say shit. Like, I don't like to not say when it's somebody that I care about, and it's a very clear thing, especially when there's a vibe to conversations with them that makes me feel like they know. And they just need somebody to say it, somebody from the outside to say it, because they're almost there, and it's almost like they're gaslighting themselves at that point into thinking like, oh, it's nothing, it's not a big deal. And I finally like sat her down and was just like, girl, you got to get away from him. He's bad news. He's fucking with you, and he is not respectful of you. And you have been with him for how long? And he has no real interest in like any of the settling down family stuff that you're interested in, and you think you're going to change him into that. And I don't know why you think you can. It's been 7 years. It's not happening. And she just started crying and was like, nobody else said. And she basically confirmed what I thought, was like, I have been feeling like this, but nobody would say it. And I kind of wasn't sure if I was just being oversensitive about everything, or like taking it all the worst possible way. And she dumped him and moved out. And so like talking to your friends, depending on the situation, it does work. It's just, you got to be really careful what exactly is going on and the vibe you're getting off of them when they talk about shit. If they're talking about something that you consider super toxic, but they seem fucking delighted, it's not the time. It's not, you know, like they have to get to a point where they see it as toxic on their own. And that might take a while, and it might be real uncomfortable to watch. And you may have to sit through some double dates or, you know, late nights with her crying until she figures it out. But there it is. Then there's also I'm going to say something because I am not their close friend. and nobody who is their close friend is saying something. And if I say something, I got no fucking stakes in this at all.
Yeah.
Which is what I did with a woman I worked with at Whole Foods back in Connecticut. And she was like getting cheated on by a guy she was going to marry. And I just, on my very last day at work, pulled her into the bathroom and was like, you can't marry him. He's fucking around. And everybody knows he's fucking around, and you know he's fucking around. And I'm not going to talk about who he's fucking around with because it was a friend of mine. I was like, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say anything, but you know, I know it. Everybody knows it. Don't do it. And she said the exact same thing as my friend, which was, I asked everybody and nobody would tell me the fucking truth. So thank you for being the only one who has any balls. And I was like, you're welcome. But also I don't, because I'm fucking quitting and I'm gone tomorrow. So it's not really super like brave of me. I was just like, let me throw a match on this on my way out. But anyway, so yeah, it just seems like Beard and her, they like it. They like the fucking drama. And if he's tired, yes. And he's feeling a little insecure because she's going to see like a super hot underwear model for coffee or whatever.
That noise he makes after he gets done FaceTiming her. And like, Higgins is on the other side of the wall trying to eat.
Gagging.
He hears that noise when he calls the Diamond Dog meeting. And oh my God, you guys, this fucking bit. Every episode they murder me. They really do. Every episode, if something happens, it just fucking completely slays me. And this goddamn, you probably call it the Earls of Risk when he's talking about Dukes of Hazzard. They
have Dukes in England. Ted, just
right?
FYI. That's a thing here,
that
actually.
Shit completely laid me out. I fucking laughed so hard. It was ridiculous how hard I fucking laughed. And Nate, the whole time, you could just walk around. You could just, if you just walked around, you'd be here already. But like, it's just, the whole thing is so well done. The timing, it's just spectacular. But so Higgins calls them out because he tells Beard when Beard says the thing about Jane, and everybody's just like, oh yeah, that's great, yeah, good for you. And then Higgins is like, do you think that's a good idea?
And everybody looks at him like, what are you doing, buddy?
So he calls him right out, like, cause then Beard runs because he's got 2 missed calls from Jane, which is another fucking red flag. You know, he's like, oh shit, 2 missed calls.
She's gonna be so mad at me.
But Higgins is like, guys, you guys just left me hanging. Then that's when Nate tells, I swear to God, Nate's fucking box of childhood trauma stories for his goddamn father. His father.
He told us both we deserve better. Which is wild.
Right? And then he's like, and she believed him, or she thought he was right. He doesn't say, I thought he was right. She thought he was right.
And it's weird because like it sounds like she believed he was right, and the fact that it's just that, it's like her thinking Nate is beneath me. But she's also just been told to her face, my son can do better than you. Mm-hmm. And that did not stick, evidently. Like, it didn't seem to bother. Of course, we're not hearing the whole story.
Right, but it doesn't seem to stick for him either. It doesn't seem to stick for the girl.
Yeah, no, that's not the part he hears.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to stick for him. And he says year 4, and then I think he refers to the girl as like his love of his life or something.
Oh, Nate, bruh. I will say, like, when we meet Jane later and she's talking about this guy, she calls him a Rembrandt, I think. And she says, like, he's really beautiful.
Beautiful to look
from
at.
A distance
beautiful
or
to
something.
Beautiful to look at, but dim.
Got it. And Beard seems really relieved by her saying this. Mm-hmm. And a part of me was like, I get it, because, when somebody is just like, oh yeah, they're really fine, but there's not a whole lot going on upstairs, it sounds like they're dismissing that person. But also, it doesn't take like anything happening upstairs to want to fuck somebody.
I mean, we just spent the morning with Rebecca and Luca. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. But I also feel like I didn't get the sense from her that she was like deliberately trying to make Beard jealous. And I don't know if it's me giving her too much credit, but in the way that she said she was going to go and meet him, and the way that she talked about him to Beard after in the evening, there was no real feel for me of her like toying with him or anything, you know. I don't know.
The only thing I would mention, and I don't know if it's hard for me, I don't want to put too much motivation for what Jane is doing here, but one of the things that she says she's going to go hang out with this guy Finn,
right?
And then tells Beard, "Oh, he's my friend from uni. That's the underwear model.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go have coffee, and he wants me to look at photos of a shoot."
Oh,
right. So
okay,
we're going to go be looking at, I'm going to go spend the afternoon looking at this guy in his underwear is what's about to happen. Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
So when you think about that bit, then you're just like, oh, okay. So Beard's like, oh yeah, okay. My girl's going to just go hang out and look at this hot guy in his underwear and some pictures.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's so weird because like, I do think any rational adult is going to know what that sounds like to say to your partner.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to act like she just doesn't see it that way. I don't believe that. But there are those people that try and act like they don't know or act like indignant that you would have a problem with it because it implies something about how you don't trust them instead of it being like, well, maybe that's just vaguely disrespectful. Like, you know, there was a advice like podcast I've been listening to where somebody called in and it was a guy who was trying to save up money to buy his girlfriend a really nice engagement ring, and he was a photographer, and this woman was willing to pay him this huge sum for him to do like boudoir shots, and he was so torn because she was offering to pay him like quadruple what he would make in the regular shoots that he normally does. But it was going to be him and her alone and her naked essentially. And he felt really like, I don't know, you know, and I really appreciated him writing in and being like, I am so torn about this because the money is calling me, but I just feel like it's not okay. And I was like, I like that about you, that you feel like it's not okay. I'm not even sure I totally agree,
but I appreciate
it.
Yeah. Tell him to get an assistant for a day, so it's not just him and this chick in her bedroom alone.
I think somebody suggested to get an assistant. They also were like, well, low key, like, how attractive is she? Like, how old is she? Is she somebody that would feel like a threat were your partner to find out? Or is it somebody that is like, they're asking for you to do something that on paper kind of seems like it wouldn't be okay, but in context, it would be like, oh, no, it's fine. And I was like, I kind of see that as well. You know, if it's somebody that's like, you're going to be trying to hide your boner the whole time you're taking photos, it's a very, very different vibe from somebody who's just like not doing anything for you, but the situation is kind of awkward,
right,
you know?
Right.
But anyway, all right. So yeah, this, Diamond Dog's meeting too. Roy immediately like fucking bounces.
No,
like, nope.
And then he's like,
not doing it.
All the dumb barking means it's over, right? When he comes back.
I love that. And then we go to practice, and Colin just kicks the ball right over the goal, and Nate yells, "Come on, Colin, you dolt." But Royce says, you're leaning too far back. Head down, fucking whip it. And I am a strong and capable man. Thanks, Roy. And this is when Roy steps forward and really begins to take charge of the whole coaching session. And you can see Nate standing behind him sort of. There's a sense of flailing. He's not actually physically flailing, but there's like a mental flail where he's like watching Roy and then looks at everybody else and sort of half opens his mouth and then stops and watches Roy some more and then sort of like looks like maybe I should just leave. And then starts to talk. Like there's just, do I say anything? Do I do anything? Like
he is flailing is such a good word. he is like losing his footing. Doesn't know where he fits in, if he fits in anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing here? Do they even need me here? Should I be here? You know, am I good enough? Like, you know what I mean? It is really kind of hard to watch.
Yeah.
If you've ever, you know, felt like you were an imposter or felt like unsure of your place, you know, or if someone showed up on your team or you know, whatever, and they're just, you know, shining, and you feel like you are like getting
the black hole,
yeah,
all the light out of the room.
Yeah, you know, like it's like being overshadowed, but on steroids, you know. It just
it's overshadowed, except that you're the shadow.
Yeah.
They're throwing shadow on you, yes, but you're somehow sucking it towards you. Yeah, I know that feel.
And then we have this other like sort of B or C plot line where Roy is refusing to coach Jamie.
Yep. And I appreciate, well, real quick before we get to that, I just want to mention the fact that the difference in the way this is handled. Roy is giving him very specific tips. And Nate's reaction is just to sort of like berate Colin. And Ted sort of glances over at Nate in a disapproving way when he says you dolt, but he doesn't say anything. And this is like the fourth time that we have seen Ted look over at Nate like, what the fuck, man? But not actually say anything to him. He just looks like, I'm disappointed that you're handling it this way, and I feel like it's not the way to go, but I'm not going to engage you on it, which is part of what's sort of feeding my like, is he purposely letting Nate sink or swim? Because otherwise I don't see why, other than just I don't want to undermine my partner in front of the team, but like you could talk to him in the office after and be like, hey man, what's going on?
And we haven't seen any of that so far this season. We know that we've seen Ted with other people really engage in like a one-on-one sort of uplifting and like not coaching like for soccer, but like coaching on how to be a better person. We've seen Ted do that with other people on the show. But yet he doesn't seem to be taking any opportunity to do that with Nate. You know? There's no, it's weird too. Like the running joke of this episode with Roy not coaching Jamie, but you could almost say the similar thing is happening with Ted and Nate. Like where for reasons that we don't really understand yet, Ted doesn't seem to be interested in coaching Nate in any real way anymore.
I'm like, did he hire Roy hoping to show Nate like how to do it, you know? But again, if you know anything about Nate, which I feel like he should by now, you got to see the way that he would take this and just the lack of confidence it would feel like to him, you know? It sucks. I don't like any of this. And also the thing that Ted, when he like talks to people about, when he's trying to help people sort of work through a thing, it feels like they are 50% of the way there already. And Ted's just sort of coaxing them along on a path that they've already started down. But Nate just really is so not there. And I'm wondering if it feels like a little overwhelming to him. Like maybe Ted overestimated how ready for this Nate was.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. Because I don't know what it looks like to hire somebody in the position like this and then not maybe feel like you made a mistake. And I'm not saying Ted feels like he made a mistake, but I don't know how Ted would cope with feeling like he made a mistake with somebody like Nate. I genuinely don't know how he would like handle that. Cause you know, we saw him like say that he had Roy's back and then be like, we're taking you off the first team, and the way Roy reacted and how he wanted to immediately back down because he felt bad. So Ted can be a little bit of a like people pleaser in that way. And I think he wants to believe in Nate because he knows Nate needs it. But how do you do it for the sake of somebody if you don't necessarily really believe in them yourself, actually believe in them? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does he feel like he has to fake it? And so he's uncomfortable? I don't know. I don't know. Something that I wanted to mention too, that I was thinking about after watching this episode that we never talked about is and this is, just want to preface this by saying it's totally fine because I really don't care about this aspect, but there is no way that they can afford 2 new coaches after they got relegated. I'm sorry. This doesn't make any sense. He not only hires Nate, but then he hires Roy Kent back. Like, this is what this guy would have to be paid. Like, it just doesn't, it's not happening.
Well, I don't know. What I will say is that Nate has no coaching experience whatsoever. He's probably not going to be getting paid anything near what a professional coach would be getting paid. Roy, as a retired athlete, would probably get more than Nate, but also doesn't have any coaching experience and would not be, like on the upper echelons, I think, of what like professional coaches of premier teams would probably be making.
Doesn't matter.
But
their budget would have been cut so bad. But they'd probably have had to get rid of Beard.
But we know that they did have a whole conversation about their budget earlier on when Nora comes to visit. So we do know that like they are in a situation financially, right? But the show doesn't seem to like in the same way that the show is really loosey goosey with the actual games,
right? Yeah,
it's
yeah, and like even if Roy isn't making that much, that would be an issue in itself because like he has this like posh apartment in this posh part of town that he would have to maintain, and if he's not gonna, all well and good, but I want to hear about that. I want to hear about him making the choice to downsize a little bit, maybe move in with Keely because he's like, well, I'm not making professional footballer salary anymore. Do you get like a pension? Do you get like a severance package when you retire? Like, how does that even work? Maybe he's got all the money, but I just want to know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know that that's not ever going to be a thing that you
I didn't think
satisfying.
So. I understand. That's like what I said. I don't care, not really. But, like, if they chose to show me and tell me, I would not be mad at it.
I mean, like, I think we're just supposed to believe that Roy played, Premier League soccer for 15 years, made a boatload of money, has never been married, doesn't have any kids. He's doing just fine.
He's got a lot of women robbing him.
Fuck, I was about to say something else about somebody else's money. Oh, like, cause you even think like Higgins has got like a fairly modest little house. But he's got promoted actually. I forget what he was before to Rupert. His director of operations is a promotion.
Okay.
So he's making like a little bit more now this season than he would have been making before.
Gotcha.
But yeah, working for a pro league team in a relatively high executive position, you think that, might be making more than that, but he also has 5 kids, so maybe you gotta
suck that.
Gotta
right
spread
out.
that around.
Yep. Yeah, all I could think about, like when I was sort of picturing how it would be if they decided to deal with like the budget issue in a major way, was Abbott Elementary, and the way that the budget for the school is always a topic of conversation.
Oh, right.
And how everything that they've got is so janky and like taped together and 6 years old and missing pages. Still says that like
what a great show
Pluto's
that is.
A planet. That show's good, you guys. But yeah, I just like there are ways that you can do that are really funny, but also that's not really what this show is trying to do. Abbott Elementary is all about like the struggle of being a teacher with no resources. And that's not what they care about for this show. That's fine.
As far as we can tell, all the guys seem like they have everything they need, you know? Fucking Colin's got a goddamn Lamborghini. So
with no keys. Good luck.
He's got a Lamborghini, but they're in like the back of an Uber after the game.
That's pretty much it.
That's
he calls the Uber, they pull up, and he's like, all right, drive my car home. How are you getting back to this one? I don't know. You'll have to call a second Uber. But this is what we're doing, and I'll pay you $600 to do it. Jamie walks up, is like, do you have anything for me? Roy literally just turns and walks away. He doesn't even say no. He just fucking walks away. And then Rebecca sticks her head out the window and is like, do you have plans for lunch? Real
quick before Rebecca yells out the window, when Ted tries to be like, you're going to have to like coach the whole team, Roy. And Roy's like, you could just dock my pay 4%. That's like the most budget talk you're gonna get is Roy being willing to like have his pay docked just to avoid having to deal with Jamie Tart.
I gotta say, Jamie Tart does not do it for me, but I appreciate him in these like coral pink cleats, like those. I see, because you see the cleats before you see him, and I see him, and I'm just like, well, those are Jamie's for sure, no doubt about that. And then I really do like the hairband.
Do you really?
I don't know. Yeah. It like works. I don't know. There's something about the way he incorporates slightly feminine touches that I'm like, yeah, it really works.
So the headband thing is because the fucking World Cup or whatever is happening right now. I'm not watching it, obviously, but there's commercials every fucking 5 minutes. And every time I see, there's like a million players that are all running around, and they all wear that little headband.
Gotcha.
It's like a real thing that they do, and I don't know. And it's so funny to me because like every sport, like they all get their hair in their face, but they're the only ones who wear headbands. And I guess it's because they don't wear helmets, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then when you think about basketball players, they don't wear helmets, and none of those guys wear little headbands.
How many basketball players have like long hair?
Well, there's not that many white basketball players anymore, right?
Yeah, I guess that's maybe what it is. Like, if it's mostly black men and they're growing their hair out, it's just going to be a fro. It's not really going to need held out of their face.
And some of them will wear like a bandana.
Right?
But the specific little like headband, like that you see Jamie wear, that is like super popular in soccer.
Yeah, I guess it must be like, yeah. I wonder if this is part of like, because I talked to you about how like soccer was seen as gay, and I'm wondering if this is part of like the energy with that if you don't have huge padding that makes you look bulkier. You're not trying to hit somebody. You're not super tall.
There's not like a lot of tackling. There's not a lot of physical.
Yeah.
I mean, there's physical contact. We see them check each other and take each other down, but there's not like football tackling.
Right.
But for my money, baseball is just as effeminate as soccer is if we're going by that metric.
Ooh.
Nobody's
first, folks.
Well, George Carlin said it first. But
did he?
Yeah, George Carlin had a whole bit about football and baseball. And football, it's a gridiron. Baseball, we're gonna have a catch.
I thought he was gonna say something about the diamond.
Well, no, it's in there too. The diamond's in there.
Okay, nice.
It's football. You play in the snow and the ice, and the fog. If it rains a little, you call the game in baseball. Can't play if it's raining, and it just goes on and on and on.
Oh, I didn't know that though. That's funny.
Yeah, that's old. That's old.
But I feel like baseball is macho in a different way. It's macho in I am just going to smoke 3 cigars before I go play. I am drinking a beer in the dugout waiting for my turn. It's just, it gives a different like vibe, but it's still there's like a, I don't know, a real old school toxic masculinity to it that feels like a rat pack-ish kind of energy.
I feel like everything you're talking about is just Tom Hanks' character from League of Their Own.
Oh, man. I was thinking of Babe Ruth and how like paunchy he was, and he just like did not care for himself very much, and was, you know, there's just been a lot of players that I will see and be like, word? Man, your teeth are falling out because you chew all day. And you are out here a pro athlete? For real? Like, I feel like baseball is the sport that consistently surprises me when I see the players that are professionals. Like, it happens a lot. But soccer, at least, it's like, you got to be fast. You got to be quick on your feet. And if you're going to be, if you do have like, you know, longer hair and stuff, you're right about the helmets. And also, if it's going to be a lot of like players who are European or South American, long straight hair is going to be a thing. And especially if you're in more indigenous areas of South America. Fucking, oh my God, I was so jealous of like my Peruvian cousins because they had this long, straight, silky black hair, that like Brazilian black hair. And I was like in the throes of just being so bitter that I had curly hair at the time. Ugh, shining waves. Anyway, all right. So secret sandwich switcheroo, which he agrees that he is going to forego in order to go to lunch with Rebecca and her mother. And Keely, as it turns out.
I have been waiting this entire experience for you to get to this moment at the pub.
Really?
Yes, for the bake-off.
Oh, for the bake-off. I thought you meant for the mom.
No.
Yes. Oh, you guys, it's so heartbreaking though because the bake-off has shit the bed for me, and I'm really sad over it.
This was last year. This is before all the awfulness happened.
I'm trying to keep that in mind because this is exactly the vibe that I had. But yeah, it's just I want it back. I want to feel good about it again. We need a whole redo. But they're screaming in the back of the pub, and it turns out they're watching Bake Off. That sponge temper your fucking chocolate,
you twat.
Yep, that is what I sound like.
I sing "Poor Little Cake, Soggy Bottom" to myself all the time.
Is that what they're saying? I could not figure it out. Okay, got it. Soggy bottom. Now it makes sense.
That just runs in my head at work.
Erica says in the alternate universe of Ted Lasso, Bake Off is still good. I want to believe. Yeah, it's just watching Bake Off with me. I feel like Owen will sit next to me and just like I'll say things genuinely thinking he's gonna give a shit. I forget entirely how much he does not care. And I'll be saying it, and my thought process is, I know he usually doesn't care, but this time he's going to care because why do I think that? He doesn't care that you should coat the fruit in flour before you add it to the batter so that they remain suspended in the cake instead of all sinking to the bottom. He doesn't care. Why would he care about that? Just like shit like that I'm like, no, what are you doing? Oh my God, you have to do, like, I think I'm giving him advice for the next time he makes a fruit cake.
Oh, well, you should be taking notes then. It's his loss, really, clearly.
It's not happening, girl. It's not how that's going to go. But yeah, there are some times where bakers just do things that are illogical if you like have any experience and you're watching like, why? Oh, the worst.
We also have a moment where before they go to the pub, Ted gets a call from Henry's school. Right. Which is really weird that their their parental contact isn't updated to the fact that Ted lives overseas at this point. It's been over a year now. I don't 100% get that. But he gets this emergency phone call, and is really freaked out for a second. But it turns out that the kid just forgot his lunch for a field trip.
Right.
But there's a real tense moment because he's getting this emergency call, and the reality of he is not in a position to respond to any kind of emergency whatsoever, really kind of does a number on him, and he doesn't seem to really appreciate it in the moment as it's happening. And I feel like that comes back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah, and your point about like it should be updated, it's the kind of thing where I'm like, based on what I have heard from parents secondhand about getting information changed in like records at schools and stuff, it's a real sort of like crapshoot if the forms that you fill out get where they're supposed to go, or the things that are supposed to get updated actually do get updated. Yeah, so he may well have done it and it just didn't stick.
Yeah.
That's how it is with like medical stuff, you have to submit the same shit 3 times in a row because they keep being like, well, we don't have it, and you're like,
that's
fine.
That's a good point. I'm sure Michelle probably, did whatever. And then people are just like, we'll just call this number that we've had on file since he was in kindergarten,
Exactly. Or it could be that he just is, it does say he's in London, but they tried calling the mom a few times and she didn't pick up. And so they're just like, I don't know, call him then, I guess.
And then Jamie comes in to complain about Roy not coaching him, and Keeley gives him the advice to just agree. Whatever Roy says, just agree. It helps takes
the wind out of his brat sails. I resented this.
Is that what she says? It really takes the wind out of his brat sails? That's funny.
It takes the anger wind out of his brat sails.
That's really, really funny.
Yeah.
And fucking Jamie calls him, what do he call them? Philistines?
Is that what he says?
Philistine.
Oh my God. I forgot about how he just looks at Beard and says, I really don't know how to talk to you. And Beard
then it's working. Fucking icon.
Oh my God.
That's what I want everyone to say of me at my job. I don't know how to talk to you. If I could just get that from every single person, it would be a job well done. I'm working on it.
Oh, right. You want to look up Philistines. Yeah. I forgot about that. Oh my God, Rebecca's mom. Life is very long. It's also very short. Sometimes it's neither, but it always is what it is.
She's full of nothing. She's just full of nonsense.
I love Rebecca off to the back, just like smacking her mouth, rolling her eyes, looking at both Ted and Keeley like, do you fucking see what I'm talking about?
Meanwhile, they're both looking at her like, oh my God, Deborah, you are so wise, so brave, so strong. And Rebecca is just like, I can't believe this fucking shit.
There's no context for them about the fact that her mother does this shit all the time. And it's really like, I appreciate the way that, because she's so dismissive. She does this all the time. It's not going to last. He's going to buy her something expensive and like earth conscious, something like that.
And environmentally sustainable.
Right.
Which is a really specific thing. And it's so funny because at the end of the episode, he buys her a fucking Tesla. Which didn't really age well, did it? But
no, it sure didn't.
I mean, it actually wasn't great last year when the episode came out. But what can you do?
But it does feel like the kind of thing a real rich person would get another rich person and be like, oh,
100%.
See, I'm progressive.
100%.
But when she says to the two of them, like she does this, Ted sort of looks like almost a little disappointed in her and is like, well, maybe this time she will.
Yeah, he's looking at her like, well, people can change. Like Rebecca is being unfair.
Yeah. And while I appreciate that, when you are in the position that Rebecca is in, doing the whole maybe this time she will, bruh, just don't. Just don't do it. She's got a very clear opinion. She's been through this a lot of times. And just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And back the fuck away from it. Because you just don't.
Maybe Rebecca knows her mom better than you know her. Because you just met her 2 minutes ago. Oh, Jason Sudeikis drives a Tesla. Erica said in the chat.
No.
Oh well, what can you do? I love too when Deborah's giving this advice, and Ted tries to like lean in, and he says the bit about the best thing I heard is just, if you're gonna leave them well. She's like, well, our situations aren't the same. From what I understand, you got left, and I'm the one who did the leaving here.
Swear to God,
Jesus Christ, lady. What the fuck?
I really related to Rebecca in this scene, though. I love my mom, but that bitch is tactless. It is really, I see like that happening with me a lot. I'm like, okay, that's where I get it from. I don't realize it when I'm doing it, because that's the point of being tactless, is that you don't get it in the moment, or else you wouldn't have said it, because you would know. And she'll also just come out with some wild shit that's really nothing. Did I tell you that she texted me about how it makes sense that I have all these puppies now, because she had a dream I was pregnant last week?
Mm-mm.
So that's what it was clearly about.
You did not
Tell
me. Is that what that is? You were pregnant in the dream, and then you found a bunch of puppies, and it all made sense?
Yep. Yep. And also it decided to tell me, like, when I found out that it was parvo, that she was watching some special and all the puppies in the litter died but one. And I kind of snapped at her and was like,
how's
what
that
the
helpful?
fuck? Why would you say that? And she's just like, she replied with, I want you to know that if anything happens, it's not your fault. And I'm like, how did telling me that accomplish that? What?
Oh, but she meant well, though.
She did, but like, what is the fucking thought process there? The chain of logic just crumbles. Like, what are you talking about?
So what had happened is she went from like here, from A, and landed at like Z, and in her mind, there's a whole
conversation that happened.
Right? But by the time she got around to sharing it with you, it was just all the puppies but one died.
I just really like, there are some people that when we went to Thanksgiving, we went yesterday, but we only stayed a little while. And Owen's grandpa asked me how it was going with the puppies, and I said that one had died, and he said, well, you're probably going to lose more of them.
Jesus fucking Christ, people.
And I just looked at him and said, yes, thank you. I'm aware. And he like backed off temporarily. And then later on in the evening said very pointedly, when we were like by ourselves, you can't save the whole world, you know. Okay. What does that mean exactly, though? What is it you're trying to say? It sounds to me like,
what would you like
toss
me to
those
do?
puppies outside and forget about it, which is low key what I think he would do, and he's just trying to couch that in like, I'm not a bad person that I wouldn't take care of these puppies, but it's just that you can't do it all.
You're being unreasonable in your attempt to try to save these puppies. Yep. Where a more responsible, world-weary person would just accept that they can't do anything at all. And just kick those puppies right in the face. Just kick them in the face. Because that's what he sounds like to me. Fuck, he basically said it. That's what he was saying.
That's what it sounds like to me. And I'm like, if you're going to say, just don't help and do nothing, fucking say it. But just don't try and dance around it with there's only so much you can do. I know there's only so much I could do. I am aware of that. I don't think I'm just going to be able to save them because I believe in it. But I also know if I don't do everything I can, I am going to remember that I didn't do everything I could for the rest of my life.
Just next time, just tell me you would kick them in the face and go.
You know?
Just I don't need everything else you're trying to like dress it up as. Just
they're just like, and there are things that I know I look back at and I'm like, I really wish I hadn't done that. I don't see myself ever looking back at this week
and being like, I really shouldn't have spent that money trying to save these puppies' lives. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that I'm not going to like, you know, have a problem with not having the money.
Nah,
because sure, that's a different
that's
thing.
a different thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is not about that. But just like her whole thing with her mom and trying to humor her, and especially having had a mother that told me a couple times that her and my dad were getting a divorce and really got my hopes up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she didn't. I just really felt for Rebecca here. The whole like, there's just a vibe of this woman feeling younger than her daughter, which is what people always told me when they met me and my mom together. And it's a weird thing that happens.
Rebecca has a very tired energy throughout this entire scene. It is just very much like, I have seen this movie already a dozen times. I have no interest in watching this show again. And which
is what kind of bums me out about Ted's response, because I feel like what she wants is to be like, do you see this?
Absolutely.
You know, and she doesn't get it. And I felt like, that sucks.
It's like she invites Ted and Keely, like, I feel like you're right to not just, because at first you think, oh, maybe she's just inviting them as like a buffer or whatever, right? But I think what she's really inviting is witnesses. She wants a witness to this shit she's been putting up with and dealing with since she was in university. And then what she gets instead are two people who are just enraptured with her mother's tale of, you know, finding this strength and deciding to stand up on her own and da-da-da-da-da. And it leaves Rebecca once again sort of alone on the outside, watching her mom and her father by extension in this like thing that they do, you know, this psychodrama or whatever that they reenact over and over again. And so, it leaves Rebecca just kind of lonely feeling, you know?
Yeah, especially there's almost an aspect of it to me of like, because Ted and Keely didn't have the context of how many times this has happened, that they got so sucked into her story of standing up for herself that when she informed them, it's not like you think. They were too invested in holding on to their perception of how it was. So they didn't want to let go and be like, oh, well, you know, and it's like, just because they enjoyed the empowerment fantasy of this, you know, lady finally drawing the line in the sand.
Right.
Yeah, well, no.
Yeah. Erica mentioned in the chat that Sassy would have been a better companion for this. And the thing we know about Sassy is that they go way back, you know? So I feel like Sassy probably would have seen this, you know, over the years.
I wouldn't be surprised if her mom would be like, I don't want to see Sassy.
Right.
I know what she's going to say to me.
All right. So we're getting like, we still have like a lot to
we got to pick it up here. Let's talk about the coaching Jamie thing, because finally he tries to like be the mature one and he takes Keely's advice and agrees with everything Royce says. And so Royce says, you're an ugly little boy with bad hair.
It's the bad hair that really trips him up. He cannot with hair that might not be less than
always. Well, yeah. I love when he says ugly because the accent ugly boy, and I was just like, oh wow, that sounds so weird when you say it. But what Ted finally says to Roy is, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but Jamie's the one that's being mature right now. You have to get over it, bruh. And finally
gotta woman up.
Yeah. And he's like, well, don't you mean man up? I don't think so. You've been doing a lot of that, and look where that got you. So what Roy eventually says to Jamie is, your strength is in being a prick. That's the thing that is true about you. And I get that getting you to pass and be a team player was important, but now that's all you're doing, and it's made you really average,
when he
and
yells,
you need to pick it up.
That it's Ted's fault. Ted is like, wait, what?
Yep. I was fully engaged until I became the subject of criticism, sir.
But so this is when they decide that they need Jamie to do what he does best, which is be the fucking worst.
Yep.
And Jamie gets super excited because he says, "Oh, so I can go back to being an asshole because he's been trying really hard not to be."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Wait, no."
I was very glad that they
Sometimes,
heard that, because
Like-
I was about to be like, oh no.
And then this wonderful sort of like, we'll let you know when, how will I know? We'll give you a signal. And then
Yeah.
Ted like pokes his head in, like, yeah, I'm really curious too. How will we know?
What's the signal? You'll know it when you see it. And yeah, once we see the game, the pundits are talking about how Jamie Tart has had like no aggression. There's been no like attack mode from him at all, and they're fucking puzzled. And then they all see these dudes flipping him the bird from the sidelines and are like, sorry, everybody at home for that? We don't know what's going on.
That fruity sign language.
Oh my God. And it takes a minute, and then finally Jamie's like,
Jamie's face,
he looks so happy
when it clicks for him. It is because Phil Dunster does this really wonderful thing with his face so much, where it's like so vacant, where it's really just like there are not two brain cells rubbing together in that head, right? And he's so dumbfounded, and then the spark in his eye when he gets it, it's so great.
Yeah,
it's really, really fun. And then we see him start to fucking shine, and he goes up to that one guy, and he's like, let me tell you what's going to happen. First, they're going to foul me, and then I'm going to score from way out here.
I cannot. Like, it makes me so mad because Jamie irritates me so bad. And then he just pulls out this energy right here where he's like, I'm going to say what's going to happen. And then that's what actually happens. And I'm like, fuck. Yeah, you're really good. I keep forgetting.
There was and Erica might know because she was like, a super fan and getting into all the stuff, even stuff that I like fucking miss. But I want to say that this shot, this kick, this goal, that he really did make that shot. Like,
nice.
Obviously, it wasn't like a real game or anything, right? But when they filmed it, that's a real shot that he made, and I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, hey, nice. She said, "Yep, that's what I'm talking about."
Yeah, that is a beautiful moment. That shot is so, and it doesn't wind up being what wins the game. I think it brings them up, but then the other team ties them. If I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
And that's what requires Nate to step up, because Beard and Roy are on the sidelines arguing with each other about what they should do next. And Nate has a very clear vision, but it's just like,
right after,
and then goes and walks and does it. And I was like, the spit thing, man, you got to find another way.
Yeah, that's just like, he needs
I don't like it.
He needs to workshop that.
Yeah.
But right after, so they get the goal. Jamie scores. This is when they all go nuts, and Ted does like the brush aside to Nate to go and celebrate with Roy, and then Ted has a panic attack, and we start to hear, I think we hear his son talk about Jamie.
Is that what it is?
He hears he hears his son, and something else. I have it fucking. Obviously, I have it muted. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the spot where this starts, because it's like kind of mixed into everything in such a way it's hard to zero in on that moment.
But
oh yeah, here it is. He's talking about the toboggan, and Roy says the little prick's gonna fucking score from out there, and Nate says no way. But yeah, let's see. I'm trying to. It's too far, but then he makes it. Everybody's cheering. Roy does a fucking like scream that's like primal from his balls. And then okay, I'm trying to find the spot, and I'm sorry because like we're again running out of time.
Yeah. But there's like
I messed up saying time because they started singing Jamie Tart and my mouth started to say Jamie Tart do.
But yeah, he definitely hears Henry. He hears his son singing the Jamie Tart song. I think he hears he hears Jamie's dad berating him in the locker room remember from the end of last season when his like you had to pass or whatever. He hears that and a couple other things, and it like sends him into his panic attack. So he runs off the field. The other team scores right as Ted is leaving. Sort of, it's implied because everybody is so distracted, nobody's focused. The other team scores. That ties the game. And then Nate does the park the bus. And then there's a fantastic bit too. Rebecca is in the stands and Higgins is next to her and he makes that noise. She is wearing that hat too, by the way. God.
She wears everything.
She is, yeah, she really does. But she is wearing the fuck out that hat. But so she hears Higgins' noise and they start to talk about Jane. And it's so funny because Higgins is trying to be like, I have a friend who maybe blah, 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 blah. And she
knows exactly who he's talking about.
And then
Keely walks up and knows exactly who they're talking about. I love it. They're the toxic couple that everybody is always just
everybody at work knows about. And Keely says her experience with Jane is that one time Jane followed her all the way home to ask if Beard and Ted were fucking.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that being on her radar.
And then Rebecca's experiences, she says she's always lurking in the car park. But she calls her adorable, but does say she's always lurking. So it's,
adorable lurking. Okay. I'd like to think I could pull off adorable lurking. I don't think so, but I'd like to think so.
I know I can. But that's when Rebecca starts to talk about how, like, you just don't want to get involved, and tells the bit about her parents having done this thing and having got the courage to tell her mom that she should leave her father, and then her mom ended up not talking to her for a really long time, and you know how the relationship had a hard time recovering.
And I mean, it's also very different because that's your mom.
Well, yeah.
Nobody wants their kid being like, "What the fuck."
Listen,
what are you doing, Mom?
Listen, some of us don't have a choice, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us have to just be like, Mom, the fuck?
Yep.
Nobody wants to. And so then Rebecca sees Ted leave, and the announcer's like, that's a man who had a bad fish pie.
Yeah. And the boys at the pub, one of them's like, where the fuck is that twat going? Be kind. He looks poorly.
I love Paul so much.
The whole, like, I'm poorly is such a wild, like, my brain always has to adjust to using the word that way, you know? But I like it. It's a nice, like, because sick it implies something kind of specific. But poorly is vague enough.
That's
that
you just not doing well. It could just be anything, right?
Exactly.
I love too. There's a bit with Baz at the bar too, when he's like, "If they win this fucking game, I'm gonna burn this bar down.
I'm gonna knock a chair over.
I'm gonna refocus my enthusiastic rage to better serve my community or some shit like that."
Yep. I love it because the fucking owner is standing behind him looking at him like, oh, will you?
May is like, you gonna do what now? Try again. And then Paul gives him like a little, like, tries to touch his hand, like, way to go. And he's like, snatches his hand away. Like, don't encourage that.
How dare you point out that I'm growing? I hate it.
So Rebecca goes trying to find Ted, and she goes to the locker room. She can't find him. His jacket's on the floor. And right as she's just kind of trying to figure out maybe where to look next, like where could he be, the team comes rushing in because we hear off camera, we hear the announcers calling a play, and our boys have won. They score, and they all just come barreling in. It's really cool scene too, because she's just sort of standing there in the middle, and they all just come rushing in on all sides. And everybody's in a great mood. They won the game. They want to celebrate. Roy and Beard come in, congratulate Rebecca. Nobody seems super worried about Ted. Oh, something with his stomach. Beard says, I'll check on him when I get home. You know?
Yeah, none of them seem aware of what's been going on with him. I'm interested at the fact that, like, Beard knows him better than anybody, but isn't aware of this because I guess the last time that Ted had one, that was the first time he had ever had one, because he really didn't seem to know what was going on. And yeah, Rebecca like looks all around for him, and finally we see him at the end of the episode. The boys convince Dr. Sharon to come out for one drink, and she goes up to her office to like get her stuff. And when she opened the door, I was like, oh, this is where he is. And then sure enough, and he scares the shit out of her.
Yeah.
And his whole energy is really dark.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where I'm like, that's the guy from Colossal. There he is. Just the whole like, whoa, don't like this for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he says that he wants to make an appointment.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested to see how this goes, because you could tell from her face, she's like, oh, we really turned a corner here somewhere. Something happened.
Yeah, something definitely. He looks like his face, his eyes, he looks like, a completely different person than the Ted Lasso we've been watching for a season and a half. I love too this when they're in the bar and Ted goes running off the field. One of the boys is like, every time I try to trust you, what are you yelling at Ted? But and then we get a sort of, I guess after the game, the press is interviewing Nate. This was hard, you guys. This was real hard. It was real hard to watch.
It's such a bummer because this is his moment. And like, look, so he says Wonder Kid instead of Wunderkind.
And this
because he doesn't get it.
And this reporter could have let that slide,
he
right?
Could have fucking let it go.
Could have let that shit slide.
And I look, I'm not like hugely mad at him, because as a reporter, if you don't say something, it's like, you probably should have said something. If you're in that position, I feel like you definitely need to be like, sir, do you mean? But as somebody who is very protective of Nate and knows how incredibly self-conscious he is about breathing, don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate can't roll with it and be like, no, is that what it is? Oh, okay, my bad. He has to be like, can we edit that out? Which I'm just, babe, don't say that either.
Just, it's the kind of thing that he's going to be thinking. It's going to wake him up in the middle of the night, right?
But what I'm hoping is that this is going to stick. And that it's going to be, the Wonder Kid.
That he'll embrace it?
Yeah, that maybe like it'll become an affectionate sort of, hey, remember when you said Wonder Kid? Yeah. Well, what are you going to do, Wonder Kid? And it's just like the thing now, and it'll be nice. But the thing is, if it is, I will think it's nice, and I don't know if Nate will think it's nice. It's just going to be the constant reminder of how he fucked this thing up.
That was going to be my question. Like, do we think Nate is in a place? Because when you try to own when you fuck up like that, I mean, we don't always do it. Like, sometimes we gotta fake it till we get there, right? But what you're trying to do when you try to flip that is just sort of like not take yourself so seriously, right?
Right.
And be able to laugh at yourself and thus sort of de-weaponize it, right? So other people can't use it against you. But to do that, if you have to either pretend like you have a certain amount of security or have a certain amount of sense of self, right?
Right.
And I guess the question is, do we think Nate has any of that?
Mm-hmm.
We want that for him, but I guess we'll see if whether or not,
I genuinely don't know what you do if somebody doesn't have it. Like, you can't teach being okay with yourself and mistake. Like, you can't, but it's like, it's not the sort of thing it's the sort of thing that you need a full-on therapy session repeatedly for years to do. It's not something that you can just be like, hey man, just go in there and be fucking assertive like Rebecca says, and then looks at him and just like, oh no. I feel like that's the exact thing, is that she thinks you can just say something and that's gonna like knock him out of it because he's just in a bad headspace. And it's like, well, no, that's where he lives.
Yeah.
It's not a temporary thing when this happens. This is his perpetual state.
Yep.
And
I think this is I have so much to say about Nate. I can't say it yet, but I have a lot to say about him. And also I just like watching everyone watch this season and how people react to some of the characters and how it was really heightened. Like, people had really, really strong reactions. You'd have thought I was watching Game of Thrones. It was intense. It was really, really intense. We see Nate scrolling Twitter, looking at stories of himself.
Right.
Just scrolling, looking, and feeling like most of the stories are really positive. So he's feeling like he's getting this sort of positive sort of reinforcement. Like, people are talking about how great he is, what a great call he was, and all that kind of stuff. And he's finally getting this affirmation, right?
Yeah.
And Roy comes in, and Roy does two things. One, Nate doesn't see. When Rebecca congratulates Roy says, it wasn't me, it was Nate. And then Roy comes, and when he says goodnight, and tells Nate, like, what a great fucking job he did. Yeah. And Nate's face, it, like, means something, you know? And I want, like, him to just wrap his arms around this moment, and try to, like, hold on to it. We'll see.
Yeah. Keep that little ember alive between your hands. Blow on it very, very, very lightly and very softly.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we can get it to burn into a flame.
And then we get Rebecca going back home to talk with her mom. She calls Ted in the car. This woman in the back of this luxury vehicle. It's like a Bentley or something. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I should not. I wasn't meant to be poor. But and she calls Ted and leaves a nice message, and then she's heading home to have this big talk with her mom. And what her
mom said she was going to make her a shepherd's pie.
She's with a fridge, cheesy top, and she gets home and there's a note. Your dad apologized, bought me a new car, food's in the fridge. See you next time I'm in town.
Yep.
And she's looking at her messages. She gets a message from Sam, and then she calls Luca. And
she gets the message from Sam after she's called Luca, though. Like, she is undressing and walking to the shower, and her phone lights up.
I thought she was looking at her phone, and then she called, looking at her phone first. And
she's looking, and he hasn't messaged her yet, which is part of what I think makes her call Luca.
Right. You're right. It's old messages that she goes up. Yeah, you're right. She's checking for a new one.
So once again, she's over here banging a hunky man while this other dude is playing off in the background, and I am dying. I'm very eager to watch the next episode. I really don't know. Like, and I'm saying next episode, like they're gonna find out next. I don't know that that's happening next episode, but if it doesn't, I will be very irritated. I'm just gonna say that I'll have feelings about the fact that they have decided to take that from me.
I can't remember if you find out in the next episode or not. In my head, this is all one movie.
Yeah,
I've seen so many times. It's just all every time I have to rewatch, I have to make sure, like, oh, that didn't happen yet. Like, I have been dying to say, what's running charades for like 2 months? I couldn't remember what episode that happened in, so I just haven't been saying it. But that line is it doesn't mean anything to anything. But when she says it to Higgins, and when they're in the stands. And she says something running charades. Running charades? What's running charades? She's so outraged.
I really this is what's going to happen with Cradle. I'm going to have to be really careful, because similar for me, of just like things blend together in such a way, and information is doled out in very careful dollops, and I'm going to have to be like, lip zipped until I'm totally sure I can say the thing.
Right, exactly.
It's agony.
But yeah, I'm really excited to get into the back half of this season. We have 12 episodes this season, guys. Or is it 10? It's 12, right?
It's 12. Yeah.
So we have, this was 6. All right, so yeah, we're exactly halfway through.
Yeah. Yeah, and they wrapped season 3 apparently, but still no like air date or anything. And I am just really like, wow, why did they have to? I know there was drama, and I know we don't want to talk about it. I don't know about most of it, but it's really fucking our shit up, guys. Just drop the damn show. Let us watch it. Did they drop it out this one season, or do they do the weekly thing? Like
weekly, because I didn't watch the first season in real time. I binged it I got like I don't know. I just was like, oh, I have Apple TV. So I just binged it. And then the timing worked out for me that when I finished binging the first season, it was like a week before the second one dropped. And I was like, oh, this is outstanding. How that worked out really well for me. And then it didn't work out well for me because I had to wait week to week to week. And it was awful. It was just awful.
I get that a lot with listeners who like catch up to our coverage of something and then they have to wait week to week and they're like, what the fuck?
So to get myself from week to week, I would just watch the episode over and over again to the next week.
Yep. I feel that.
Yeah. Yeah, the drama, I think, was personal. I don't think there was a lot of show drama. I pray there wasn't show drama.
Listen, we only have 30 seconds left, so we're not getting into that.
Oh, Erica said it was mostly logistic drama.
Okay.
That makes me feel
all right. Is there anything else you want to say? I hope not. I'll say hi to new patrons next week, but first time back after being away a bit, so gonna breeze on past that. But patrons know that we love you very much. We do. Appreciate you.
And we do.
And until next week, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
No, my hands won't be tied down, and I will not lay them down, 'cause I can finally see the truth. So simple but so clear, accepting an ocean's depths were out of reach for me and you. If you're coming up for air, breathing in, you know I'll be there when you first begin. And when everybody's telling us we have no time, we'll prove them wrong.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.